Welcome to a new story made by Oracle 1. The rain that night was relentless, a steady hammering upon the thin panes of the old cottage nestled at the edge of Hollow Creek. Martha Simmons sat in her faded armchair, the flickering fireplace her only source of warmth and light. Beside her rested a half-empty cup of chamomile tea, untouched. Her gaze was fixed on the darkened window, where shadows played tricks on the mind and the wind whispered secrets only it could understand. It had been 3 months since Richard's funeral. 3 months since the ache of loss had first settled deep within her bones, settling like a lead weight that pressed again and again upon her heart. Hollow Creek was a sleepy town, one that rarely saw visitors unless drawn by the dense woods or the murmur of the creek itself. Friends and family had trickled away with time, their visits growing less frequent until Martha was left alone with only her memories, and the sounds that came each night. At exactly midnight, the knocks began. She had first heard them on a rainy Tuesday, 3 loud knocks reverberating against the wooden door of her cottage. Martha froze, eyes wide in the dark, listening. 3 deliberate, echoing knocks, always the same number, always the same pattern. They occurred without fail, every single night, at the very stroke of midnight. At first, she thought it might be a prankster, children playing some twisted game. But the woods around were silent by then. No birdsong, no footsteps, not even the rustle of the habitual night animals. She'd checked the locks, peeked through the peephole, but the porch lay barren, shrouded in fog. Her neighbors, a few scattered souls living miles away down the winding road, heard nothing. Not a single knock disturbed their quiet nights. Fear crawled under her skin like 1,000 cold fingers. One night, drawn by a desperate mix of curiosity and terror, she flung open the door the moment the 3rd knock sounded, prepared to confront whatever shadow haunted her threshold. The porch was empty, save for the dripping rain and the heavy mist clinging to the ground like a living thing. A chill ran through her. No footprints, no sign of life. Only that lingering feeling, an unmistakable presence just beyond the veil. "This can't go on," she whispered to the dark. And yet, it did. Martha began to notice strange things in the days that followed. Whispers. Low, unintelligible, as if the air around her breathed secrets in a language she could not understand. The smell of damp earth and decay would waft through the crevices of her home, soon replaced by a sour metallic tang, as though rusted blood stained the very walls. She found scratches along the doorframe, 3, always 3, scraped deep into the wood. They weren't there before, of that she was certain. Her sleep became tormented. Vivid nightmares pried her open nightly. Scenes of endless forests curling into darkness. A tall, gaunt figure standing with its face hidden beneath robes as black as oil. Their hands tapping on an unseen door. 3 knocks. Over and over, embalmed in the ringing pattern. Neighbors began to avoid her, their eyes darting away lest they see shadows lurking behind her curtains. Their sympathy had morphed into dread. The town whispering that Martha's grief had summoned something evil, some cursed specter that clung to her house like a malignant tumor. Martha was not one to believe in such things. She was a woman of reason, of practicality, who had measured her life by hours worked and days spent beneath the sun. But nights, coated with darkness and echoes, were different. They reframed everything she thought she knew. One morning, after a particularly restless night filled with scratching noises and soft rapping that no one else could hear, she found a small scrap of paper wedged into the latch of her door. Trembling hands unfolded it. Written in a smudged, looping hand was a single sentence. "In the space between heartbeats, it waits." Martha shivered, the words sinking like icy water into her soul. From that night forward, the knocks did not come at midnight alone. Sometimes they came minutes before, sometimes minutes after, but always 3, always deliberate like some dark ritual marked in time. Her dreams bled into her waking hours. The figure in black enveloped the darkness behind her eyes. She caught glimpses of movement beyond the window on stormy nights, something watching with unseen eyes. One evening, at the town's ancient church, she sought comfort. Father Thompson, a wiry old man with kind eyes and a voice like gravel, greeted her with warmth and concern. "Martha, child," he said, "the darkness that surrounds you is not your burden alone. The dead have restless ways, but sometimes what creeps beneath the mortal veil is a shadow older and hungrier than grief." She told him about the knocks, the pains, the figure in dreams. He stroked his thin beard thoughtfully, eyes narrowing. "3 knocks," he murmured. "A summoning. The number 3 carries power, the gateway between worlds. You may have become marked by the ley lines that intersect beneath your home, tapped into something beyond our realm." Martha's fingers clenched at the worn rosary beads he gave her. That night, clutching the beads tightly, she lay awake, waiting. Often, the knocks felt less like a threat and more like a beckoning, a dark invitation. Then, it happened. At precisely 3 minutes before midnight, the knocking began. 3 hard, deliberate beats. Her breath caught as she listened, sitting rigid on the edge of her chair. Her heart thundered in her chest, each beat loud and wild. She felt the air grow heavier, a stifling weight pressing down. The knocking turned to tapping, then scratching, as if fingers grew long and twitching, desperate to break through her sanctuary. Suddenly, the door creaked, not from being opened, but as if an invisible force was tugging, pulling the door open just a crack. Through that slit, a cold wind poured into the room, carrying an oily scent that made her gasp. The whisper came then, a voice low, guttural, filled with ancient malice. "Open," it said. The words scraped her soul. Her body, though terrified, obeyed the urge gripping her mind. She reached towards the door, her knuckles white. Then paused. "Who are you?" she demanded, voice shaking. No answer. Only silence and the darkness beyond. Suddenly, the door slammed shut, rattling on its hinges. The single candle she lit flickered and went out. In the pitch black, Martha's breaths were shallow, quick, her whole body shivering with a mix of cold and dread. The next morning, she found the 3 scratches again on her door, deeper this time, almost bloodied in appearance. The town grew restless. Strange happenings were reported. Livestock found torn apart with no visible marks, odd figures glimpsed near the woods, unearthly sounds that seemed to echo off the hills. The townsfolk whispered that Martha had opened a door that should not have been disturbed. As days passed, the nightly knocks shifted into rhythmic pounding, echoing through the old cottage's frame like the heartbeat of something monstrous. Determined, Martha made a decision. She contacted Sarah, her only surviving relative, a niece living far away, a student of folklore and myths. Sarah arrived with books and equipment that looked arcane to the practical widow. Together, they searched for answers in dusty tomes that spoke of echoes from the beyond, the thin veil separating worlds, and the ancient entities that dwelt in the void between life and death. One revelation chilled Martha to her core. The legend of the 3rd knock, a harbinger of dark souls cursed to wander, forever at the boundary. The ritual of 3 knocks was a call, a summoning, and once answered, the entity could cross over, feeding off grief and sorrow. Sarah warned that breaking the ritual was perilous but necessary. They had to confront the presence, refusing to answer the summons and sealing any gateway that might exist. The night was hostile, moonless, as if the sky itself mourned the impending confrontation. Martha prepared a salt circle around the door, lit holy candles Sarah brought, and recited prayers old and forgotten. The knocks came, 3 sharp beats at midnight, once more echoing like an unholy bell. The door rattled violently, the air thick with shadow and dread. The temperature dropped until breath became visible in the dim light. Outside the circle, dark hands clawed and scraped, desperate to invade the sanctity of Martha's fortress. Then a voice boomed, terrible and terrible, echoing like the toll of a death knell. "You will not be free." Martha answered not with fear, but defiance. "This sorrow is mine, but I refuse to be imprisoned by your darkness." With finality, Sarah sprinkled the salt with practiced gestures, and the candles flared. The door stopped shaking. The scratching withdrew, retreating into the silence. The oppressive weight lifted as if a great darkness was forced back into shadow. The knocking ceased. In the still dawn light, Martha stood by her door, breathing steady, tears streaming down her cheeks. The world was quiet once more. Something had come on the third knock, yes, but so had her strength. Like and subscribe for more stories.